Ladies and gentlemen, this is our 1-year anniversary episode, so we're really excited about that. We've got Jeff back on. We're talking about Invisalign and dentistry tonight, so let's dive into it.
Welcome to the Business and Brews podcast, where our mission is to highlight local businesses in the Triangle area and shed light on different industries.
And welcome back. Like I said, we're here with Jeff Lamura once again. Jeff, you were actually with us before, so real quick, tell us again who you are and what you do.
So when I was on last time, I was here talking about my food and drink blog, Food for Thought NC, which I still kind of do a little bit, but it's more of just this little side thing now. And but my real job, my real intention of being here today is that I am a dentist in Cary, and you should know that.
Yeah.
You're a patient.
Yeah.
All right. So I guess we're here to talk about that.
Yeah.
Not about you, but about me.
Well, we're always here to talk about Ryan. That's
yeah,
always
right.
That's always the goal of the show.
But that's a default setting, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is a default setting. Jeff,
Yeah.
again, thank you again. I mean, I'm going to echo what Ryan said. Thank you again for coming back.
Yeah,
You're our
no
first
problem.
Repeat
Anytime.
Customer. Repeat customer. Repeat.
Yeah. Repeat guest.
Yeah, repeat guest. So
Yeah.
we definitely appreciate that.
Yeah.
You definitely look a little different, but I guess we'll dive into that later.
Well, this is a podcast, right? I have a face for radio. Is that what it is?
I dig it.
So no, I have lost over 100 pounds
Nice.
since December because I had gastric bypass surgery. So
Yeah.
we could talk about that another podcast
Yeah, we'll talk about
if you
that
want, if
later.
anybody's interested.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
It is, man.
So here we are once again in our 10 by 10 TREK CBD studio.
It is.
I'm really excited about this, guys. We've got Nick, who is an impromptu producer / CBD expert. I don't know if he knew that he was a producer, but he is now. So
He wears many hats.
yeah.
And I'm actually a customer of TREK CBD too. So
See, it all ties
Yeah.
together, man.
That's
I
fantastic.
mean, I've been here. My wife and I have been here a couple times buying
Nice.
stuff for our dog.
Yeah,
And,
totally. So last week I got the Calm stuff, or maybe 2 weeks ago, I forget. It's been working really well. But one thing I really like, and I talk about this every week, is that because of their website and the way they have it set up, they have free shipping. So I can sit on my couch and just order stuff, and it shows up at the door.
Or you could just
Nice.
pick it up when you come here on Sundays.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if I can't wait, so the website
You're feeling
is
super anxious.
the website is in the description of the video. It's trekcbd.com. So thanks again to Nick for helping with production of the show and letting us host it here.
Yes.
But definitely one of the things I like, I go into a lot of businesses, during the day. I've seen a lot of different CBD stores, and the one thing that sets TREK CBD apart from these other stores is that everything is out in the open. So it's a very welcoming approach to the world of CBD, whether it's anxiety, sleep, or anxiety is probably one of the top ones, but pretty much whatever ails you. If you're dealing with new stressors, or you're having trouble sleeping, or maybe like my mom, it was pain management. Coming here, talking to Nick, holding that conversation, getting educated about CBD, and then being able to get access to it is super important as well. So trekcbd.com,
Yep.
order it, ship it to your house.
Absolutely. And I mean, and definitely if you're in the area, definitely feel free to stop by. I mean, I think the education piece was the biggest thing for me. I mean,
Yeah.
there's so many different myths and so many different things you hear about CBD, but Nick is definitely on top of it. He knows exactly what he's talking about and done his research. So
Yeah,
you got
my wife and I came in here, I don't know, about a month ago, and I think we were here for like an hour. Yeah, go Pats. We got to stick together, us Massachusetts folks. But, yeah, we learned a lot. I mean, we came in because our dog was having a lot of trouble getting things done because she had such anxiety. And so, yeah, she's been on the CBD oil and the calming treats for about a month, and it's been working out really well. But Nick was super knowledgeable and super helpful, so
That's awesome.
I can second that.
Yep,
That's awesome.
Yeah.
that's fantastic. All right, Gavin, so tell me, what have you been up to this week?
I've been trying to figure out what kind of cake we're going to get for this anniversary we have.
I know, like, I was going to stop on the way up here, and I was like, I don't know what to get Gavin for our 1-year anniversary. So You were figuring out cake. I'm figuring out party favors.
Well, Party City
And
is
neither of
closed,
you have
so
anything.
Can't do party favors. Yeah.
Yeah.
What am I supposed to
CBD
say?
favors.
Yeah, but other than that, it's just been trying to catch up with work, spending time with the family. How's your week been?
Yeah, pretty good. So let's see. I'm always doing the side gig thing, which right now is working closely with Mabapony on their books. So I don't know if I've ever dropped their name before, but Mabapony Foundation is a nonprofit in Apex who supports 100% of their proceeds goes to support a village in Africa, very appropriately named Mabapony.
Cool.
I'm pretty sure I'm pronouncing it wrong, but I think it's mabaponykids.org, or you can Google it. It's
How do you spell that?
very carefully.
Okay.
I think it's Mabopane.
We'll put it in the show description.
Yeah, I was going to say, I didn't mean to put you on the spot there, Ryan.
Yeah,
Notes.
we might need to do that. But the reason I bring that up is because one of their struggles, especially during the whole pandemic, was sales, because they can only hold, I think, 2 per month. It's a ton of volunteers. Just they have a phenomenal team down there, like a ton of volunteers, and so it's challenging to be able to sell online or hold more sales. And so me being able to help them sell online, move more products, make more money, help more kids. So it's
Sounds
a
good.
win-win scenario.
That is. That definitely is a true win-win. How about yourself, Jeff? How's your week been?
Well, it was my birthday this week, just like your guys'
happy
birthday.
belated birthday.
Yeah, August 27th.
Awesome.
Nice.
So I just been kind of working and just trying to get things back together, back at the office with coming out of the pandemic, which I'm pretty sure we're going to probably talk about.
Yeah,
But,
we'll dive into that.
Yeah, otherwise, we're
Maybe once.
Maybe
yeah.
once. We'll talk about the elephant in the room.
My wife and I are building a new house, so we're just trying to get our current house put together,
Congrats.
cleaned up,
Nice.
painted, fixed, etc., to put it on the market soon. So I don't know. Other than that, not much. Living the dream.
I hear you, man.
Always.
Yeah.
Always. So, Gavin, I know I got this variety pack down here, but tell me what you're drinking on.
Let's see. So the variety pack is from Highland Brewing. I'm doing the Mandarin IPA, which is a fresh, zesty orange IPA.
Okay.
That's
Don't
good. I've
forget
had
zesty.
it before.
Yeah, it's actually pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's just say something. What are you drinking on there, Ryan?
So I really like this one.
No, you don't. It's not a stout or a porter. Don't you lie to me.
I do. It's Mexican lager by the Mason Jar, and I think we determined that was out of Fuquay.
It is.
Yeah.
I've been there before.
Yeah.
It's an only lager brewery. That's all they make. Is lagers.
Yeah, that's crazy. I love lagers.
Yeah.
personally, yeah.
It's a cool spot too.
Yeah.
They have a nice spot.
That's on a few.
Yeah.
I like it.
Fuquay's got a bunch of breweries, actually. Surprisingly for
For
Fuquay.
I get.
It's growing though. I mean,
it's growing like crazy. That's why I always
Yeah.
wonder why Wake Forest didn't have more breweries, because towns like Fuquay have like 5 breweries.
No, so it's like wondering.
I mean, Wake Forest we're getting up there a little bit now. We have a couple new ones, but
Raleigh's got a ton too.
yeah.
Yeah, they
Raleigh,
do,
Cary
yeah.
area.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Lots of great
A lot
spots.
breweries, yeah, we're definitely good as far as that's concerned.
Yeah.
But just on that same note, I mean, just like we were just talking about, it's very important during these times just to support these small breweries.
Yeah.
Well, these local breweries. I don't want to say small, but these local breweries is definitely important to support them. So if you do drink local.
So,
Couldn't
and
agree
I know
more.
we keep coming back to the pandemic. So real quick before we jump into it, I'm going to plug something that's super important. I know Nick's really excited about it. I'm really excited about it. And you're actually a guest star, at least in one episode so far. So hopefully a few more. We are coming out with a new podcast.
What?
Yes.
We've already got, I think, maybe 5 or 6 episodes recorded. So this is coming up. It's called How to Build a Business During a Pandemic. Okay, we're working on the literature right now, so we have something fancy to hand out. I'm going to continue to tell you guys that it's coming up. I believe we decided right now that we're going to be launching it on Tuesday mornings. So every Tuesday morning it's going to come out. I don't have a specific date yet, so it could be this coming week. But stay tuned. If you're on our channel, whether you're listening live on Facebook or YouTube, or you're listening to the recorded version after, we're on every single major podcast platform, including iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever you listen to podcasts. That show is going to hit, and I believe it's going to help a lot of people because Nick and I just dive deep into, how we built our businesses, the ups and downs we had to go through. It's just super raw, and it's super important right now, especially with so many opportunities out there. So I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, definitely some really good content. Definitely make sure you guys tune in and be watching for that. So
Sounds awesome.
about that.
I'll definitely have to be checking that out.
Yeah.
Nick's fun to chat with. I really like doing the episodes. He's just naturally energetic. So
Are you just saying that because he's in the room, or are you just?
Yeah.
you can't prove that.
He's energetic, but I thought he's a CBD guy. Isn't that
How
like
does that
an
work, right?
oxymoron?
So Jeff,
Yeah.
just because it has been a while, so I want you to talk a little bit about basically how you got started. One of the things that comes to mind is last time we held a conversation. I know you talked about the struggle of knowing and learning dentistry in school, but them not teaching you how to run a business.
Yeah.
That's so true.
So give us your origin story.
My origin story. So I am originally from Massachusetts, the Great Bay State, Worcester, Massachusetts. So, I mean, I guess the real origin is that my dad was an oral surgeon, and although he never encouraged me to do anything in the field, I kind of, it was always in the back of my head, and I worked at his office like during college, summer vacations, and things like that. So when I went to undergrad at a small school in Philadelphia called St. Joe's, I ended up having probably several majors, and I never knew what I wanted to do. But I knew I wanted to do something in the medical field. So long story short, I decided to go to dental school. And by the time I was like a junior or senior, and then, I ended up going to University of Michigan, which is only the #1 rated dental school in the country. And
Awesome.
third best rated dental school in the world. It's out there. It's legit. So anyway, I went to dental school, graduated in 1995, and then they give you a couple little business classes along the way, but nothing that is relevant, to be honest. Kind of like school in general.
Yeah.
So where you just learn a lot of book stuff, but you don't learn a lot of real life stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I got out of dental school, I went back to Philadelphia and I did a residency in a hospital, and I learned a ton of dentistry. So I learned a lot more about doing dentistry and actually treating patients in that 1 year than I ever did in 4 years of dental school. Still didn't know a lot about running a business. When I got out of that program, I went and worked as an associate at a couple different offices, one in New Jersey where I was there for about 4 years, and I worked for a really great guy who taught me a lot about how to run a business, about how to do dentistry also. And then I ended up going back up to New England and eventually buying a practice in Connecticut in 2002. So I was there from 2002 until 2012. And, it's just a lot of ups and downs. It's tough. Doing the dentistry is the easy part. Mm-hmm. If that's all it was, it would be a piece of cake.
Right.
But as a small business owner, you take on a lot of hats.
Yeah.
And
I think that's one thing that, like, when you look at, an actual dentistry, an independent dentist office, you forget that it's actually a business. Like, the
Right.
dentist is actually a business owner.
Because a lot of these places, especially down here, when I was in Connecticut, there was not a lot of corporate dentistry. But when I moved here in 2013, I bought my practice in 2014 in January, so it's been almost 7 years. But in North Carolina, there's a ton of corporate dentistry. Dr. Lane and Associates, Riccobini, Carolina Dental Arts, there's Aspen Dental, Heartland. There's all these DSOs, which is a dental service organization, I think that is. But so basically what happens with those is that it's run by business people, right? So the HR, the staffing, the payroll, like everything's all done like in a corporate environment, and then they just hire dentists, they hire staff to work there.
Right.
So I actually did work in one of those offices for a few months when I first moved here. And it was nice because I literally just went in, did dentistry, and went home. I didn't have to worry about if a piece of equipment broke. I didn't have to worry about if someone quit or whatever. It was all handled by their corporate entity.
Right.
So, I mean, that was nice, but a lot of, I think what's missing in that type of environment is a lot of the sort of, I'm trying to think of the word, but like the fact that I get to know all of my patients. I know who they are, where they come from, what they do for work, do they have children, where they're going on vacation. We get to know each other.
Right.
So I keep my office now is very small. I have one office manager, one assistant, one hygienist, sometimes two hygienists. And every time you come in, you're going to see the same faces. When you go to these big, huge group practices, you might see one dentist one time and have some work started. And then the next time you come in, you're going to see somebody else. So you're like, well, and then they might not agree on the course of treatment and that kind of thing. So I like being the only dentist. I've never had a partner. I don't know that I ever will. Kind of like doing things the way that I like to do it. I like to get to know my patients, and we're like a family in the office, and then the patients become part of our family.
That's
so,
awesome.
that's why it's sort of like the mom and pop hardware stores trying to compete with the Home Depots of the world. That's kind of what's happening with a lot of the small practices, is that it's tough to compete.
How was that transition going from, working for an actual, one that was already established versus starting your own? Like, what were some of the challenges that you faced?
Yeah,
like,
I mean, I didn't
going
start
from
my own. I bought a practice, like a current existing practice, but still, I mean, that's still a transition because I'm coming into this practice and nobody knows who I am, right? To them, I'm just a new guy, even though I'm not a new dentist. I'm still a new face that they have to trust.
Right.
In dentistry, in my opinion, it's all about trust. You know what I mean? That's why I find it difficult when you're going to a place that you see a different face every time, or maybe every few times there's a new face there. You have to reestablish the trust, right? I'm going to be working in close proximity, right? I'm giving injections. I'm doing things that are uncomfortable, right? So it's nice for them to know who I am and where I came from and what my story is and what I'm trying to prove, why I do what I do.
Right.
I'm in the business of dentistry, but I'm more in the business of making a difference, like changing people's lives. That's what I want to do. It's the smile is everything. A lot of times when people come in, they're afraid to smile. They don't like to smile. They don't like how it looks in photos. Things like that. So, or they wear a big beard to cover it up.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things. A lot of things people do
They
to
do,
cover
yeah.
it up. So
Well,
yeah, so
I
I
mean-
mean, I'm running a business, but I'm trying to make a difference too. So
That's good. Yeah.
anyway,
So I'm curious, Jeff, because obviously, like you said, we're going to talk about it, but the pandemic, just how it's affected maybe the industry as a whole, your
Yeah.
business specifically, and then what are some of the things you had to do to pivot?
yeah. So I think it was back in March when everything started kind of coming to a head with the pandemic, and it was very nerve-wracking. We stopped. We closed. I believe March 26th or so was our last day, and then we were closed for 2 months, and it was extremely difficult. For some reason, dentists were not considered essential.
Crazy.
Yeah, so we were never mandated to close, but everybody pretty much closed. I mean, I think a few places stayed open, maybe a little bit longer than others, but for the most part, we were all closed for routine care.
Right.
We were still open for emergencies, so I was probably in the office about once a week. I would sort of consolidate. People would call with a broken tooth or a toothache or whatever, and I would be like, all right, if it's not hurting terribly, let's try to make it till this date where we could all come in. And I tried to see like 4 or 5 people in the one day, and everybody's impression of an emergency is different when it's on themselves.
Right.
So some of them weren't really emergencies, but to that person it was. So we went in, and so for 2 months we literally had probably 10% of what our normal output was. So I basically laid the staff off. They filed for unemployment. I filed for unemployment. I didn't get it for a very, very long time. I'm trying to think. After about a month or so, maybe sometime in May, I did get the PPP loan from the government. It certainly helped. It wasn't a magic bullet by any stretch.
Right.
I still had my staff or my team because they're really important to me. I wanted to make sure that they were all doing okay. Because like I said before, they're like my family, and that was for me the most important thing. And then, we were going to start, we had several sort of, we were like, all right, we're going to start next week. And then something would happen. We weren't able to get the necessary PPE that we needed, which I know was a problem for a lot of people because we had to have the right N95 masks or face shields or, all kinds of special things, that to put into the office. There's a big concern industry-wide about production of aerosols and things like that and how that related to transmission of COVID-19. And obviously, since we're working in such close proximity with people's mouths and noses and things like that, and that's basically what the transmission of the virus was, right? If somebody sneezed or something like that. So we were considered really kind of a high-risk profession. And because of that, the week we were going to the week before we were going to reopen, my 2 hygienists both quit. So here I was supposed to be starting on Monday, whatever that day was, first part of June. I had and full schedule of patients in front of us, and both hygienists decided to quit. One because she wanted to get hazard pay, and I said no. And here we were not making any money for 2 months, and she wanted to get paid more. So I just said no. That's not going to happen. Yeah. So she left because we couldn't come to agreement on that. And then the other one couldn't come back for family reasons, which I understood. Her mom was not well and at high risk, and she didn't want to put herself at risk and then bring it home, which, definitely. I mean, that I completely understood. So I was in a pinch. I ended up having to do cleanings for a week or two, which I don't love to do, but you got to do what you got to do when you're the business owner. Exactly. And
on the boss if you are the boss.
Yeah, exactly. So I kind of had to, just kind of, you talk about pivot. I had to pivot and do something that I wasn't accustomed to doing, but I certainly knew how to do. And then I put I somehow got lucky and found this really awesome hygienist that we have there now, Amber, and she's been a godsend. And we just kind of, the stars aligned. She was looking to leave her job. We were looking for somebody new. She came in, and we all talked, and we just loved her. We talked for a couple hours, literally, not even about work, just stuff in general, and that's why I like my team to be small, because we talk about life. We don't just talk about work, and I feel like when choosing providers and things like that, I've heard people say, like, people don't buy what you sell, they buy why you sell it. You know what I mean? And I feel like that's important as a solo practitioner, compared to like when you work for, a lot of times when you work for a corporate thing, it's all about the money.
Right.
And, I like to think that we're not that way. Yeah. And, so after a couple of months now, we've been back since the beginning of June, and I've got a new hygienist, and our team is refocused. We've been doing, some promotions and things like that. We'll talk about the Invisalign thing, just to kind of, help people, feel better about themselves. I know the pandemic was tough on a lot of people emotionally and financially. It's kind of the same for all of us.
I mean, speaking of that, like, what are some of the changes that you've had to make, or pivots that you've had to make in order to adhere to all the new procedures with COVID-19?
Yeah, so, we all wear, more PPE. I used to just wear a regular mask. Now I wear like either an N95 or a KN95 mask with a surgical mask over it. The hygienist is wearing a face shield. I tried the face shield. It was really uncomfortable. It's hard to talk. It's hard it's hard enough to talk with 2 masks on. Yeah. But to then put a face shield over it, it distorts your vision. So when I'm working, I found that to be one of the worst things. Like, they want me to wear a face shield, but I can't really see what I'm doing very well. So what's more important? I'll keep my distance. I'll do all those things. But the other thing too that I found interesting with the whole making dentistry, more safe, if you will, is that even before this pandemic is we have a thing called universal precautions where we have to assume that everybody that comes into the office has something, whether they have HIV or hepatitis or TB or herpes or anything, the flu, you know what I mean? So we take precautions anyway, you know what I mean? So we keep everything highly clean. I never felt in danger going into the office during the pandemic. I always felt very safe working on patients, and I have never felt badly about going back to work. You know what I mean? And actually the majority of patients have been really excited to be back, and a lot of them said that they would have still come in during the pandemic. But we use I put up, the plexiglass shields are up at the front desk.
Okay, yeah.
When you first check in, the shield is up. When you check out and when you pay or whatever, or talk to Lori, make your next appointment, there's a shield, plexiglass barrier. So we have those put up. I removed some of the chairs in the waiting room so that they're not close to each other. People wear masks when they come in. And the other nice thing about not being like a super high volume office is that we don't have a lot of people in the waiting room at one time.
Okay, yeah.
You know what I mean? So we're able to kind of keep, usually, if anything, one person in the waiting room at a time. We kind of stagger the appointments so they don't start at the same time. So removing some chairs in the waiting room, we had to take out all the magazines, the coffee machine, cups, like all that stuff that people can touch multiple times. We had to get rid of all that stuff. We use a industrial fogger. It's like a mist spraying machine that you put like hypochlorous acid in it, and you after the patients, we basically fog down the rooms, and that kills viruses, bacteria, that kind of thing. So it sounds like somebody's I don't even know what it sounds like, a vacuum cleaner or something like that. When after the patient leaves, I hear them doing it to the rooms. So everything's sanitized constantly. The bathrooms are constantly being cleaned. Pens are being wiped down. All that kind of stuff. So
you're taking the necessary precautions.
Yeah, we take everybody's temperature when they come in. We ask questions about have they had any exposure? Do they have any symptoms? Have they been around anybody that's had COVID-19? So we're doing all the things recommended by the ADA, and just sort of what makes sense. A lot of common sense comes into it. So, but yeah, it's been great. We haven't had any issues. It's been nice. Been nice to be back to work, that's for sure.
Yeah, I think everybody shares that sentiment. It's actually been able to go back to work.
Yeah,
and especially with dentistry. I mean, it's such an important piece. I mean, I don't know how you guys weren't deemed as such.
Yeah, well, that was the thing. I had someone come in during the pandemic, and they had a broken tooth, and she wasn't in pain. And I said to her, I'm theoretically not supposed to treat this. It's not technically an emergency. You're not in pain. You're not bleeding. You're not swollen. There's no infection. In my opinion, that I feel like that's an emergency, because that can just lead into other things. I feel like a lot of people may have been putting off routine care, where something may have been like a simple filling, in April, they're not coming in until July or whatever, and now maybe it's an abscess or something like that. So that's why I'm not sure why we were considered non-essential. Other than maybe they didn't want us to use our PPE and they wanted us to give it to the hospitals or something, or I don't know, I don't know, but it was kind of a weird scenario. It was the longest time I'd ever been out of work. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think everybody got to know their family a little bit better.
Yeah, that's for sure. I mean, the one nice thing, it was one of those things where, you're at home and you always say to yourself, if we only had time, we would do X. Like on the house. You know what I mean? So we had all the time in the world. So we were at Home Depot a lot. We put new floors in the house. We did some painting, put up some new blinds and new curtains, stuff like that. So we did get a lot done around the house, but it gets old after a while.
Yes,
that's for
does.
sure. I mean, it was nice not working. I have to admit that, but financially, it's just not. It's not in the cards right yet.
Yeah.
So
That can't sustain that long term. Right?
no, I mean, plus, it's one thing when you're home, but there was nowhere, you couldn't do anything.
Yeah.
You couldn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like being retired.
No, not in the least bit. No, it was not.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
So earlier, and you kind of touched on this with people's smiles and the chipped tooth, but you had mentioned Invisalign.
Yeah.
So just as a guy,
Mm-hmm.
who, you know, does what he's got to do with his teeth.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Who doesn't think too much about, doesn't really care too much about the cosmetics.
Yeah,
maybe.
so tell
Yeah.
me about Invisalign. Like,
Sure.
what is it? How does it work? Like, what's that look like?
Yeah, so I mean, Invisalign's a pretty well-known brand, but basically what it is, it's orthodontics that doesn't involve brackets and wires. It involves clear aligners. That's almost like a retainer or like a bleaching tray. As a matter of fact, this whole time we've been talking, I have aligners in my mouth. So I'm currently going through Invisalign right now, and I don't know if I've talked funny or sounded differently to anybody.
No,
I don't have a
definitely
lisp. I
can't
don't have
tell just
anything.
by looking.
Right? So you would
Definitely cannot tell.
Yeah, you would never know that I had them in. So, you know, it's called Invisalign because it's like invisible.
Yeah.
And actually, the interesting thing is Invisalign just moved their U.S. headquarters to Raleigh. It's over near the airport, I believe,
Oh,
somewhere
nice.
like off of 40 off there. Yeah,
I
so
didn't know that.
the headquarters is right here in Raleigh. They're sponsors of the Hurricanes. I know that, and things like that. But, you know, most people just assume that orthodontics is only for cosmetic purposes, and that, yes, that is a driving force for a lot of people. But, and especially for teenagers, you know, when their teeth are coming in and you know, they've got crowding or spacing or whatever, and parents don't like it because usually the kids don't care. I know, like when I was 12 and I had braces, I didn't really care. I thought I looked fine. But, you know, a smile is really important for a lot of people. So when you're younger, you know, a lot of times you just have braces because your parents want you to have braces. But as an adult, when you're making your own decisions and paying for things yourself, right, you say, well, you know, I'm 40 years old or whatever. I've made it this far. I don't really care how my teeth look, right? A lot of people say that, especially guys. But there are a lot of things that Invisalign can help prevent long term. So if you grind your teeth, there's usually a reason why, right? It's usually because a lot of times, a lot of people say it's stress related, which it is, but a lot of times it's because our teeth aren't aligned properly. And the brain is kind of trying to align and fix the teeth and make them line up properly.
I did not know that.
Yeah, and
That's crazy.
yeah, so yeah, clenching and grinding can lead to significant wear of your teeth, can lead to chipping of your teeth, you know, joint problems, TMJ problems, muscle aches, headaches, back aches, neck aches, all kinds of things like that. A lot of times that can be treated just by lining the teeth up properly. You know, there are certain, without getting into too many details, certain types of bite patterns and the way that people's teeth come together, just sort of how they were born and how their anatomy came out, where they have a bigger chance of breaking teeth or wearing teeth, things like that. So, and a lot of times people will have, along the gum line, you have like those recession, the gum recession and those exposed root surfaces. And a lot of people, I was always taught, and we were always taught that, you know, that happened because you're brushing your teeth too hard or you're using a hard toothbrush or something like that. And that can be the case to some degree. But a lot of times those gum recession and root exposed areas come from grinding your teeth and can be prevented from lining the teeth up properly with Invisalign. So, you know, orthodontics has come a long way. It used to just be silver brackets and silver wires and super uncomfortable. Like when I was a kid, when I had my braces, it was just a pain in the neck.
Yeah.
You know, it was really uncomfortable. Every month you had to go in and they would like tighten them up and it would just be really super uncomfortable. So, you know, when I moved to North Carolina, I took the Invisalign course and I started learning about it. And, you know, I did a little bit here and there, but I wasn't really comfortable with it. But now, you know, 7 years later, almost 7 years later, I'm super confident. I've been working a lot with my rep lately. There's been a lot of advances in Invisalign. You know, you used to have to wear one aligner for 2 weeks, which would, you know, expand the time. Now you wear one aligner every week and you change it out. So the time frames have been cut in half. So it takes a lot less time than traditional orthodontics. It's a lot more comfortable. And the cool thing is, like, they're aligners. You just take them in and out, and so when you eat, you take them out, and you can eat. So you can eat whatever you want. You don't have to worry about biting into an apple with regular traditional braces where they can come off. So with Invisalign, you can eat whatever you want. You know, so you take your aligners out, you eat what you want, take them out to brush your teeth, floss your teeth, put them back in. You wear them. You know, as long as you wear them, I think it's like 22 hours a day. Then it works. So, and like I said, I'm currently wearing them now. I wanted to do Invisalign on myself because I wanted to see what it was like. I wanted to be able to talk to people and explain from a firsthand perspective, how it feels, how it works. If they have questions, I'll be a lot more able to answer them.
That's crazy. It's just like, oh, I got to eat.
Yeah.
Like braces, you can't do that.
No,
Yeah, with
cannot,
traditional braces, you have to be really careful. Can't chew gum, can't bite into an apple, no corn on the cob, like those kinds of things.
And you do that application to, like Invisalign, you do that with teenagers as well.
Yeah, we can do it with teenagers.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Man, because you can just always,
And
like, teenagers with braces, like that's always like a big
I
thing
know,
because you
I
go
know.
through puberty and you got
yeah. It's I think I have a couple of teenagers that are in Invisalign right now, and it's definitely a lot. There's kind of a stigma that comes with the old brace face, like the nerdy silver braces everywhere, but now with the aligners, it's hardly noticeable. Most people don't notice that I have them on unless I tell them.
Yeah.
And
no, you can't tell.
but yeah, so the other nice thing is, if we want to talk about this, is I figured coming out of COVID-19, I wanted to try to do something for my patients. And for new patients, to help people feel better about themselves. Because Invisalign typically, I think people mostly charge anywhere between, I don't know, let's say $4,500 and $6,500, something like that for Invisalign. So what I've decided to do is I lowered my fee to $3,500 for Invisalign. So I've made it really affordable for people, and I have multiple, payment arrangements through the office. Through third-party financing companies like Care Credit or Lending Point. I'm also, if people pay in full, I'm including free whitening at the end of treatment, which is another little something to look forward to. Once your teeth are nice and straight, then you get them nice and white. Yeah. So, but anyway, I've been doing that fee since we came back from the pandemic, and I'm probably going to do it at least through the end of the year. Yeah. And I'll kind of reevaluate at that time and see what people are up to. But I feel like it's sort of my way of like saying, hey, we all went through a hard time, and here's a little something I can do.
Yeah.
If it's something you've been putting off or maybe you've been thinking about, but it's been cost prohibitive or whatever, maybe we can help you out with that. So that's what I've been doing. It's been very well received with patients in the office. But I want to throw it out there on this podcast too, that even if you go to another dentist and you don't need another dentist, but you've been thinking about Invisalign, I'd love to have you. You don't have to be a patient at the office. You can just come to my office and do the Invisalign. It doesn't require a lot of time on the patient's end, which is one thing I love about Invisalign too. You come in and we talk about it and figure out what your goals are for treatment, why you want to do it. And, once we decide you're a candidate, we take impressions or a scan, send it off to the lab, and then they send us back the aligners, all of them. And then I may see you once every 8 weeks, maybe once every 4 weeks, depending on what has to be done. But it's not a huge time commitment, as far as coming into the office. So even if you live an hour away or something like that, right, it's not...
It's once a month.
Yeah, and it's usually not even once a month. It's usually maybe once every 8 weeks or maybe even longer, depending on... I know some other doctors that'll give all of the aligners out at once. Wow. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, so that's it. So, I'm a huge fan of Invisalign. I'm a huge fan of people wanting to feel better about themselves. And this is one way that they can do it. That's, I think pretty easy, to be honest.
Yeah.
So, but, I mean, we do all kinds of stuff at the office too. So, we do, traditional dentistry, do crowns, bridges, dentures, implant restorations. If you want to have a full smile makeover, we do that too. I mean, that's really life changing. It's a big project a lot of times, but it's a lot of fun.
So I mean, on that same note, if there's a kid out there that say, hey, I want to be just like Jeff when I grow up and actually own my own dentistry, what advice would you give them? Like what, as far as where the pitfalls are, what path to follow?
Yeah, so one thing I would say, even if I go back to college, is choose a major that you actually enjoy. Because a lot of people assume you have to be like a biology major or a chemistry major or something like that. I was a psychology major. And I chose it because it was really interesting. But I had friends in dental school that were like art history major, political science major, all kinds of stuff. So you don't have to be a science major. If you enjoy learning about something else, you can certainly be a different major, right? You just have to take the basic science classes and take the admissions test and all that stuff. So that's one thing where I would start. So, but going to dental school, and then coming out of dental school and going into your own practice, I would say that, you know, if I could do it all over again. So my practice is in Cary. It's a really super highly populated, super competitive. There's a lot of dentists. It's very congested. So I might recommend them, even though Cary is a really nice area and someone might think Wake Forest is a great town. I mean, I live in Wake Forest and I love it, but there's a ton of dentists here too. So you don't always want to be in a place where everybody is. You know, there's a lot to be said for being maybe in a rural area or a less populated area, or, you know, maybe even a place where you think people don't have as much money or don't care about their teeth, because everybody eventually does. You know what I mean? Or people have toothaches and things like that. So everybody needs care, right? So, you know, I think if I could do it all over again, I would be in a more maybe blue collar area, maybe in a less populated area, you know, where there aren't as many dentists. You know, that's the thing. It's maybe not even the population type, but maybe more if there's less competition from a business perspective, you know, and then as far as getting into it, again, the dentistry is the easy part. I would take continuing ed. I would read a lot of books about leadership, you know, marketing, advertising. That's the stuff that I don't understand, is all the whole marketing stuff. Yeah. That's why I've been, you know, you and I have been talking about, you know, Russell Brunson and the whole, you know, click funnels and funnel advertising, and I've been trying to learn about that lately. I've been working with someone trying to do some stuff like that. So I think the more you can learn on your own about like Facebook ads, YouTube, Google ads, like those kinds of things. Like for me, you know, as someone who's been a dentist for 25 years, those are things 25 years ago that weren't even around. No. Like Google wasn't even a thing. Facebook was definitely not a thing. And you know, YouTube wasn't a thing either. So back then we did, you know, Yellow Pages advertising, right? And word of mouth, you know, word of mouth is still, I know, right?
About the phone book.
Yeah, right. You know, I mean, word of mouth is still, in my opinion, the best form of marketing. Those are the patients that I like to get the most, because that means somebody was happy with what we did. They tell their friends or family or coworkers, and then they come, right? That's the kind of people that I like to see. But, you know, how do you obtain the person that doesn't know anybody, maybe that moved to the area that doesn't have a dentist yet, right? So you need to figure out how to reach those people. So I think as a young practitioner coming out, don't worry about the dentistry, because that comes easily. You're trained for that. But I would spend a lot of time learning about marketing and about leadership and about how to manage people, because that was another thing for me, like managing people. I was like, what the heck? That's
a skill within itself.
Yeah.
It's its own skill, man.
You know, and I'm you know, being a boss is a whole different animal. You know, and if you're not used to it, I still struggle with that 25 years later of being a boss. I don't like confrontation. You know what I mean? Yeah, so for me, you know, for me, that's one of the hardest things. You know what I mean?
You can always call Ryan, and we have to have those hard conversations.
Yeah, exactly. I need an axe man or something.
He could be the bad guy.
Yeah.
There's so many different ways. That's one reason, like, I always tell people, because during our interview process at work, we talk about, like, you know, where we came from, how we got here, and I talk about my time in the Army, and, like, 10 years of leadership experience.
Yeah, see, that's huge.
Was not enough.
Right.
Not enough. Yeah. And then I told you about how more on leadership and Dan Crenshaw's book, Fortitude. Like, just learning all those and working to apply them. Yeah. There's so many different ways of doing it. There's so many different types of people. Like, you can always learn what works, but it will forever be a challenge.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And it's something you always have to constantly be adjusting and on top of. I mean,
and I can only imagine, like, being in a position where it's like, all right, I went to dental school, and now I'm a dentist.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I know.
Wait, you want me to run a business?
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's like, wait, I have to figure out taxes and payroll. I mean,
I gotta do what?
Yeah. I mean, I use a payroll company. That's the first thing. Get a payroll company.
Yeah.
Don't worry about trying to figure that stuff
Yeah,
out.
that's
And I will, I don't want to upset a segment of the population, but most of the people that work in dental offices are women.
Hmm.
So
yeah,
I've worked in several offices and owned two. Actually, I owned a second little satellite office in Connecticut too. But every employee I've ever had has been female. I've never had a male employee. So as a man, I'm working with all women. So there's certain differences, right? I mean,
there are.
the way you talk to people and things like that. They're constantly pointing things out to me that they see that I might say that's wrong. You know what I mean? Which
Yeah,
I appreciate,
Yeah.
Like, Doc, maybe you should have said that differently.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, maybe you're probably right.
So
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds like it could be a benefit and a challenge all
For
at the
sure.
same time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure it definitely has. its
Well,
pros and
let's put it
cons.
this way. Women are definitely much more tender and gentle, right? So when patients
Yeah.
are nervous and anxious and my assistant is in the room talking with them, that's great, right? Like, that's probably my assistant's biggest asset is her people skills,
Yeah.
which is huge in dentistry. The other thing when we talk about, like, what should people know, the thing is, when a patient comes in, if let's say they came from another office, they don't know if the filling I did on them was better than the one the other guy or other girl did, right? But they know how they were treated, right? And they know if I gave a good injection compared to the other person. But they don't know the quality of the work, right? Especially when it's something simple that they can't see, right? So a huge part of dentistry is patient management, talking to people, making them feel comfortable, getting them to be able to relax, right? And I think, women are inherently better at that than men.
Yeah,
I mean, I
think you're
just
right in that.
from a personal perspective, so yeah. So I think if you had an office full of men, it would be kind of weird, to be honest.
I would not want to be in that.
Yeah,
office.
right. Yeah. So I mean, it might be like a military thing or something.
Yeah.
Who knows? But
There's some women in the military.
no, I know that, but I'm just saying,
Well,
maybe,
see, I mean, it's interesting you bring that up because, like, working at Fort Hood, I would go, have my dental work done, and the clinic that I went to, because there were a ton of dental clinics there at Fort Hood. It's one of the largest military installations in the United States, and the one that I would go to was like the teaching practice.
Right.
And so first floor, second floor, separation, this guy would do the work. He would have to have it checked, which was also kind of funny because I feel like the guy doing the work was older than the
Than the
dude
guy
that
checking.
was coming to check it. But it also dealt a lot with like rank structure and prior service. So maybe this dude was enlisted first before he got his commission. But it seems, just kind of off the top of my head, that it was more of a 50-50 split. And, a lot of that varies, but I could be wrong. It might have to do with the MOS. So say a male enlists to become a medic, and they're like, sure, but we need all these people over here in the dental side of things too.
yeah.
And so that's how they would end up there. I mean, a lot of people say their recruiters lied to them and whatnot. I got exactly what I wanted,
Right.
what I asked for.
Yep.
I guess I just got lucky.
Yeah.
But
No, I feel the same way. I mean, I have a lot of friends, and I've talked to a lot of people over the years that when they first got out of school, they went and worked for certain dentists, and maybe they didn't have a great experience. I worked in 2 different associate positions before I bought my own practice, and I feel really lucky. I worked for a really good dentist in New Jersey who was a good guy and a really good dentist and a very successful businessman. So I learned a lot from him. And then I worked for a guy up in Massachusetts who was a super high-level dentist, did a lot of complicated stuff, and I learned a ton from him. So, but I feel like that it could have been totally opposite. You know what I mean? I could have been in places that weren't like that. So I feel really lucky that I learned from some really good people. I had really good mentors.
definitely.
And you know, I try to be that way for when people ask me, have patients come in and they say, oh, my son's thinking about going to dental school or something, you know, can they come in and talk to you or whatever? I mean, I'm more than happy to do stuff like that. I feel like it's kind of, I feel like it's important to kind of pay it forward to the next generation because you can always learn. You know, it's constantly learning. I mean, I'm still learning new things every day at work. You know, the landscape of dentistry is changing. Technology is playing a huge role.
What are some of the changes that are kind of coming on the horizon here?
Yeah, so I mean, a lot of the biggest changes that I see now are with technology. I mean, from when I started 25 years ago, I mean, everything's digital now. You know, everything used to be on paper back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and X-rays used to be on film. It would take forever to develop things and read them, and then you write up all of your notes and that kind of thing. But now, you know, everything's on computers. Obviously, we have digital X-rays, we have intraoral cameras. So let's say somebody comes in with a broken tooth, and you know, I take an X-ray and I'm trying to explain the X-ray, but you know, they don't really want to look at an X-ray. They don't know what it means.
Mm-hmm.
But if I take an intraoral photo, I can put it up on the screen and just be like, hey, look, there's the crack in your tooth, or this is where it's broken, or there's where the decay is. So, you know, photos, like visual, so much easier to explain things than just looking at an X-ray or just explaining.
Right.
So that's one thing. But in the digital X-rays, you know, it decreases the amount of radiation, much faster. You get an image immediately. You don't have to wait, that kind of thing. The biggest thing in my practice over the last about 3 years now is that I've adopted it's called the TREK machine. There's other versions of it from different manufacturers and whatnot, but essentially it allows me to make a crown in the same day, you know, one appointment. So whereas in the past, if you needed to have a crown done, you would come in and we would do all the work and we would take an impression, you know, with like, nobody likes having impressions taken. They're really gaggy and messy and taste terrible and all that kind of stuff, right? And then you'd have to wear a temporary, which is made out of plastic, and oftentimes the temporary would fall out or the tooth would be really sensitive.
It's funny because I just had to get one done like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
That's exactly
right.
the process.
So the temporary is never fun, you know, and there's a lot of issues. Like I said, they come off or they're sensitive and whatnot, and then you have to have a second appointment where you have to take work off or whatever, and you have to come back in, have the temporary taken off, maybe get numb a second time, and then have the crown fitted. And all that kind of stuff. So that was kind of the way I used to do things. Well, now with technology, we can, when someone has a crown prep, it's all done via essentially a streaming video camera, like a wand with a camera on the end. And so instead of taking an impression, everything is done digitally. It's scanned digitally. And then once the digital scan is in the computer, into the software, I design the crown on the computer. So I can change the contours, I can change the contacts, I can change whatever I want to the look of it. Then once the design is finished on the computer, I have a milling machine, which is basically like a lot of people think it's like a 3D printer, but it's really not. The 3D printer like builds something from nothing, and this basically takes like a block of the ceramic and carves out the crown. So the crown was designed on the computer, and then the file is sent to the milling machine, and then the milling machine takes this block of ceramic and then does its thing, and the crown is milled out in about, depending on the size of the crown, anywhere from 15 to 20 minutes. Then the crown is put into a furnace where it's sintered and it gets a little bit stronger, and then that's about another 15 minutes. And then we cement the crown in the same day. So the permanent
no
crown,
cement,
there's no temporary
cement,
cement, no second appointment.
Yeah.
You know, it's nice if I have, you know, a lot of patients that travel for work and they can't get in that easily, or if they're a school teacher and they, you know, so it basically fits everybody's schedule. You know what I mean? It's just your one appointment. You come in and you leave with the final restoration. And the materials that we're using, it's the same exact materials that the labs are using. So there's no, it's not like it's lesser quality or anything like that. It's the same thing that the labs are doing. So, yeah.
I had one down at Fort Hood. It was probably 2014-ish, and same problem. And I'm eating Subway, and the temporary splits in half and comes out in my Subway sandwich.
Yep.
So I'm like, man.
Was it at least worth it? Was it a good sub?
Yeah, really.
You don't remember what kind of sub it was,
Subway.
Yeah,
probably not so great.
Good sub is
Don't
like,
say that. Don't say that. We may have a
subconscious.
Subway owner on or Subway franchisee on at some point.
Subconscious
Yeah.
is a good sub.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
place
More
on
of a
Hillsborough
firehouse,
Street.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the
good
name of a
sub.
place, Subconscious.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a
Hillsborough
great
Street,
name.
State, yeah.
Great
By
name.
that bookstore. The bookstore right there. Yeah.
Reader's Corner.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, so anyway, that's the.
Sorry for
No,
the
no
sidetrack,
worries.
We like
no worries.
food, so.
I love food myself. So, but anyway, the for me that's been one of the biggest changes technology wise. Patients love it. They love being able to get it done in the same day, not having to come back, not have to wear a temporary. You can leave the office and go have lunch and go chew gum if you want. You don't have to wait. You don't have to be restrictive in your whatever you're eating, anything like that. It basically eliminates a lot of errors that can happen when a crown is being made at the lab with an impression and models and all that kind of stuff. So there's very few issues when we deliver the crown. It's spot on 99% of the time. So that's been awesome. Yeah.
Ready to roll into my favorite part? Or-
So before we do, normally at this stage, Jeff, we field audience questions, and we're just getting this rolling.
Yeah.
Having a little problem with technology, but we actually do.
Speaking of
have-
technology.
Yeah,
right?
really. Yeah. Nice segue.
Yeah, we do actually have one audience question
What?
this week.
What?
So
I love it.
Was that my wife or something?
so
Is it Ryan Nina?
Yeah.
there is a link in the description if you guys have questions, whether it's for Jeff or a future guest or a past guest, about dentistry, or maybe you watch the After Brews and you have a question. Then click the link, send us a message. I can definitely get those answers for you. We answer them live on air. This week's question is from Clayton. He wants to know. Basically about implants, pricing, prep, the overall process.
Yeah, so I mean that's a really broad question because implants cover so many different areas. But if it's just to replace a single tooth, which is sort of the bread and butter with implants, soup to nuts, it can get a little costly. But it's really, to be honest, to replace a missing tooth, it's really the best way to go. But so if you have a broken tooth or you're missing a tooth and the tooth is unrestorable or whatever, and you have to go have the tooth removed, so typically I don't like to do a lot of surgery. So I don't do a lot of surgical extractions. I don't place any implants. So when I have those situations in my office, I refer the patient to an oral surgeon or a periodontist. I just feel like they'll get much better care that way. I know my limits. So, the extraction, typically they bone graft it after that. I'm not sure what the fee for that is. It's probably under $1,000 if I had to guess for that. That has to heal from that. And then typically the implant is placed a few months later. And I think typically at an oral surgeon's office or whatever, an implant is probably around $2,000, give or take. And then you have to wait another few months after that, and then you come to see me. That's where I get to have fun. Is you come in. I actually have to take a physical impression with implants. We can't do the scanning with the implants yet. I mean, there are some ways, but I'm not quite there yet. And then I think my fee is right around $2,000. So I typically tell people when they come in and they ask questions about implants to replace a single tooth, I usually give them a ballpark figure around $5,000 from extraction all the way to final restoration. But I also tell them too that it's done in stages. So financially, it's broken up. There's the extraction and bone graft, then there's the implant placement, then there's the restoration. So it's sort of a 3-phase thing, and oftentimes it can take from the time of extraction to final crown maybe 8 months, 9 months, or a year, something like that, depending on what the situation was. So that's one thing. There are also multiple other ways implants are used. They're used to hold dentures in. They're used to hold in, full prosthesis. If you're missing all of your teeth, you can have, these big hybrid. It's like an all ceramic. I've done one of those not too long ago. It was a lot of fun. It's great. If Clayton has any questions about it, I'd love to talk to him about it. I'm not sure what his level of interest is with implants, if it's just to replace one tooth or multiple teeth.
I'm sorry, we didn't even mention this. Where's your office located?
Oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah, so my office, the name of the office is Cary Smiles, and it's on Cary Parkway, right off of Route 1, sort of in between Route 1 and Tryon Road in Cary.
Okay.
It's a large office complex called Parkway Professional Park. There's big Raleigh Radiology is in there. There's, a bunch of medical and dental offices, and there's an orthodontist office in there, oral surgeon. There's, I think, chiropractors, optometrists, all kinds of stuff. So it's a big medical complex, but it's really easy to get to. It's like I said, it's right off of some main roads.
It's on your website, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. If you just go on the
Put
website.
that in the description. So
Yeah.
for me, it's just easier to.
I thought I'd just ask.
Yeah.
No, that's cool.
It's
at least
definitely-
that way he can plug his location.
I tell
Yeah.
everyone, if you're looking for Jeff, to go all the way to the back.
Yeah, their office is in
remember
the
the
back of
first
the
time?
complex.
The first time I went, it
Yeah.
took me to the building,
Right.
but I was on the wrong side.
Right,
So if
right.
you just go all the way to the back.
Yeah, by the
people are
re- by the
"That doesn't
retaining
make any
wall."
sense," but once you get there,
Yeah.
you're like,
Yeah.
oh.
It can be
I
a
get
slightly,
it.
when the complex was first built, I think my building was the first one that was built.
Oh, okay.
But now there's probably like 6 or 8 buildings in there now, so it can get a little complicated. But yeah, you go straight in, you'll see Raleigh Radiology in front of you. Go to the left, 2 buildings over, and like Ryan said, go in the back by the retaining wall, and
It's got his name on it.
yeah, my name's on it. My actual name's on there, Jeffrey B. Lamura DDS. That's the official name of the practice, but I'm sort of rebranding myself now as Cary Smiles. It's just a little bit easier. It rolls off the tongue a little bit better.
Yeah.
Lends itself to better printing, marketing,
Yeah.
logo,
Easier to remember.
everything. Yeah, much easier to remember. So, but the website is caryncsmiles.com.
Cool.
Someone in Spain owns carysmiles.com.
That's weird.
So it expires it expires in April of next year. I know. We looked it up.
Yeah.
I'm like, who the heck? What did they need that for?
Yeah.
So anyway,
Yeah.
but yeah, I'm always accepting new patients, and we take a lot of insurances,
Yeah.
which isn't always great, but for patients it's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
that-
we
that is great
are-
for patients, yeah.
I'm in network with the majority of insurances.
Good. That is
So
awesome.
I know a lot of times that's what drives patients, and that's totally fine.
Yeah.
I think I would probably do the same thing.
So I think I'm ready now. I would like to say
You
thank
what?
you to Clayton for.
Yes. Thank you,
submitting a
Clayton, for
question.
Yeah,
submitting
thank you,
that.
Clayton.
Yes.
That was cool.
It's not super often because we are just getting this started, but eventually we'll have maybe a phone right there. Like
I
you
can
just
do live
answer it on
call-ins.
air.
Should probably do like an old school.
Caller,
Yeah,
when
really.
you're on the air.
Like an old radio, like calling
Yeah.
it.
Get an old-fashioned rotary dial to sit there.
This can happen.
Then the
I'm surprised
cell
you even
phone
know what that
rings,
is,
and it's
Ryan.
but he's not.
Yes.
So you know what a rotary phone is. I'm impressed.
Probably can't hook him up anymore.
Probably not.
That's a different. We'll get into that in the after brews.
Yeah,
but I
yeah,
wanna
yeah.
get
Well,
to-
yeah. That's fine.
I want to get
All right,
to
let's
the
go ahead and
questions.
roll through the questions we've had brewing. Do we have to do
Sure.
this in a specific order? Do we have a signed question?
No, I really
Yeah.
like your question, but I always like to do the last one last. So I'll start with
Sure.
the most difficult one.
Oh, great.
When you're not, handling people's dentistry and taking care of folks with their Invisalign. What do you like to do for fun?
Oh, I love to play golf.
Hmm.
Probably my most fun thing to do in the summer anyway.
Okay.
But, my wife and I just got a Peloton
Okay.
about a month ago or so, and I'm really getting into that. I love it. So I shouldn't plug Peloton, but but anyway,
What are you
but there
gonna
is a
do?
perk. If you get a Peloton and you tell them Jeff Lemura sent you, then I get $100 of
Okay.
free merchandise
Yeah.
on their website.
Yeah.
So that's cool.
The apparel, yeah.
But anyway, yeah. So I love to work out. I've been doing CrossFit for 9 years, something like that. So I do that a little bit. My wife and I love to travel. We're big Airbnb fans, so we do a lot of long weekend getaway type of things.
Sounds
Go down to
good.
the beach, go out to the mountains,
Yeah.
explore new cities, things like that. As we talked about in the beginning, I was a huge foodie before I had my gastric bypass surgery. So
No, you're a
that's
medium-sized
limited.
one?
It's limited. I'm a smaller foodie. Yeah.
Score one for
Yes.
Ryan. Pretty
Touche.
good.
Touche. That was good.
I've
So-
been small and I've been large.
Yeah.
And I've always loved food.
Yes. Same. So I'm definitely a foodie, and I love checking out new restaurants,
Yeah.
and huge craft beer guy.
Yeah.
that's been on hold for a little bit, so I'll pick that back up in January.
We'll pop that off on New
Yeah.
Year's Eve.
Yeah, exactly. New Year's Eve will be my 1 year anniversary of my surgery when I can actually have alcohol again.
Yeah.
So,
Nice.
but yes, that's it. I like to do anything outside: hiking, biking, rollerblading, that kind of stuff.
So, I guess this is Ryan's favorite question.
Oh, no.
If you could have a beer with anybody, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
Oh man,
That is my favorite question.
that is a
It
great
is,
question.
yeah.
And, I'm going to give like kind of an answer only because of something that happened this week.
Okay.
So this might not have been my answer a week ago, but I had a really, really good friend in Connecticut when I lived up there, and we were like brothers. And I just found out on Thursday this week on my birthday that he passed away unexpectedly. They think it was a heart attack, so it's been crushing. To be
sorry to hear
honest,
that.
yeah,
Sorry
it's
for your loss,
been
man.
really difficult. I don't mean to bring a Paul on the podcast, but I would love to get together and have a beer with my buddy Hector.
Yeah, that's good.
Although he was a big wine guy, but
Well, wine, beer.
Doesn't matter.
something.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
so
Dealer's
would-
choice.
that would be So that would be like my off the cuff first thing I could think
Yeah.
of right
Yeah.
now answer. But historically, I don't know. I'd have to really think about
No,
that.
that's a good
That-
answer.
that is
Yeah.
a very good answer. I mean,
Some,
'cause-
some people go a little more on the famous side.
Right.
yeah.
The one reason I like that we asked that question is the different responses.
Right.
So
I mean, I think it tells a lot about a person too. I mean, you can really kind of figure out who they are based on that question. I think.
definitely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm not a big I don't really care about the celebrities and things like that.
No.
So
Yeah, I don't either.
I'd rather
All-
get together with like a buddy or like my mom who passed
Yeah.
away a few years
Yeah,
ago, something
yeah.
like that. Like for me,
somebody
that's way
you actually knew that.
yeah. I mean, yeah, sure. There's a lot of people that love to pick their brain,
Mhm.
but I'm good with that.
I like it.
Yeah.
I dig it.
So Jeff, we talked about this a little bit already, but I'm curious, what book, YouTube, audio, whatever, what content are you consuming?
Yeah. So we talked about how books. I'm great for starting books and not so great at finishing them. I have lots of them at home, lots of leadership books and things like that.
Yeah.
But the book I'm currently consuming is .com Secrets by Russell Brunson. Again, just trying to learn a lot about marketing in a digital age, basically, how to target certain people, certain markets, things like that. And so it's a paradigm shift for me for sure, because that's not what I grew up with,
Yeah.
So
It's different.
anyway, I'm reading that, but I'm a huge podcast guy. I have a 45 minute commute to work every day. So I'm big on podcasts, and this time of year, I listen to a lot of fantasy football podcasts. But my wife and I love listening to true crime podcasts, whether they're multiple episode podcasts or like Crime Junkie, which has short episodes, things like that. So
Nice.
listen to a lot of that stuff. I also, I have like the Tony Robbins podcast on my phone. I
Yeah,
have,
that too.
Gary V, the typical kind of.
Who's Gary V?
You guys don't like Gary V?
He's
Or do you not know?
he's just being funny.
Oh, okay.
Gary V is probably responsible for a lot of the stuff that
Yeah.
I've done up to this point.
Yeah.
so.
So, yeah, those are the guys. I listen to there's some new business podcasts I've been listening to too. So I'm kind of all over the place, but I spend a lot of time in the car. So,
Yeah, so it's
or cutting the grass, just throw the AirPods in and listen to podcasts.
So we normally ask each other this question, but I'm going to change it up a little because I'm not sure if you listen to podcasts, but what
I do listen to
podcasts
podcasts.
are you listening to? What podcast can I listen to?
What podcast can you listen to that I listen to?
Yeah.
That's a very good one, actually.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Pull out your Spotify and see what's on there.
I'm trying to
You
I
can
listen.
cheat if you need to.
No. I listen to a lot of bigger pockets, which is like for real estate investors and like
good.
all this other stuff. But they
Yeah.
have like this offshoot that's called Bigger Pockets Money, which
Okay.
talks a lot about business and like all the other stuff. It's a
I
really
like
good
it.
podcast, actually.
I'm going to look it up.
How about
Yeah.
you? What can I
I'm
listen
glad
to?
you asked. I'm glad you
Gary
asked.
Vaynerchuk.
Yeah.
The audio experience.
It's kind of funny you say that because if you look at Gary Vaynerchuk's content model,
Yeah.
I believe it's a 60 slide presentation.
Yeah.
I think it's
His
available
deck,
on LinkedIn.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's very valuable, and he
is.
definitely practices what he preaches. From a production standpoint, I don't care for it.
Yeah.
I like the Ask Gary V show. I like the Facebook posts. I like catching him randomly. The part where he takes his content and creates a podcast, I'll listen to it. It's not my favorite right now. I have two favorites. So one for fun and one for professional development, which is super interesting. The one for fun I'll touch on briefly because I'm not trying to start anything. The Flat Earth Podcast.
Okay, fair enough. We'll leave it there. We'll leave it there.
It's a conspiracy podcast.
Yeah.
And that's what's great about it. Is it is not pitched from a conspiracy standpoint at all. Anyways, moving on. The professional development one, and we can talk about that more in the after brews, but the professional development one is Business Wars, which is done by Wondery.
I love. I think I listened to that one too.
Oh my Lanta!
Yeah.
Pick out your two favorite brands.
Yep.
They have a series on it. They even did a completely separate podcast called We Crash on the WeWork debacle.
Yeah.
I just listened to the one about dating apps.
Yeah.
That Business Wars. It was like Match versus Tinder or something like that.
I just finished Monopoly.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I forgot one. Impact Theory with Tom Bilyeu. Yeah, that's a really good one.
I like that guy.
Yeah.
There's another.
I watch his YouTube stuff.
Yeah, he has a podcast that, I mean, basically it's very similar.
I feel like when he interviews people, he's just like, he'll ask one question and then they talk and he just sits there and listens.
Yeah.
Like that's the bulk of his interviews. It's just like.
Well, I guess it's because all the different people that he has on there from so many different industries and so many different walks of life. I mean, because he tries to keep his personal beliefs out of it, which I can appreciate. Like his personal perspective, he tries to keep that out of as much as possible, and like the guests like really control the interview. Because I think, if I'm not mistaken, I believe he's an atheist, if I'm not mistaken, but like he's had like a lot of religious leaders and a lot of people from different walks of faith on. So it's very interesting.
Another interesting one that a friend turned me on to is called Time Suck. Kind of a weird name, but that's the one with Dan Cummings.
Yeah.
Cummins or Cummings? I can't remember what it is. He's a comedian, but he just deep dives into, like, he'll pick a topic. Like, he had a really good one about the Columbine massacre. Again, I'm back on the crime thing, but, he talked about that. I can't remember what the more recent ones were, but, yeah, he just picks a lot of times like some weird topics and just kind of talks about them and just researches them. So it's for me, it's like a good time waster if I'm in the car for a long time and I'm want to just be kind of entertained by something weird. I like it.
Either that or call Ryan.
Yeah.
The most important question we have: people want to know more about you, Jeff, or how to reach you. Where can they find you?
All right. So my website is caryncsmiles.com. You can find me on Facebook. At Lamura DDS, which is LAMURADDS. On Instagram, I'm at Dr. Lamura DDS, DRLAMURADDS. The Facebook and Instagram pages are kind of cool because I post a lot of before and after photos of patients of work that I've done. Mm-hmm. So if you're curious about the things that I can do for you or for your friends or your mom or dad or siblings or kids, whatever, I try to keep that pretty consistent and pretty fresh. I try to post pictures, whether it's orthodontic before and afters or crowns or cosmetic work or whatever. So I try to do that. We I post, memes and things like that. I'm trying to, during the pandemic, I posted a lot of videos, just kind of letting patients know what was going on with the office. I just started a YouTube channel for the office.
Nice.
It's been a little bit of a slow go, only because I'm not 100% comfortable doing videos of myself yet.
Yeah,
it's not my wheelhouse for sure.
Well, you've done 2 already here, so
yeah. But this is just I feel like we're just talking amongst friends. But when I have a thing in front of my face and I'm trying to talk about whatever, but so I started that up. I believe that's under Cary Smiles, or maybe even Cary YouTube Dentist. So, yeah, that's one thing I'm trying. And I actually really have I have so many ideas for the YouTube channel. I can talk about different procedures, different products, things like that. I can have patients on there and talk about stuff. But right now I just did like a welcome video. I'm trying to get my team to do little videos to introduce themselves. I just put one up the other day of my hygienist Amber kind of introducing herself, talking about herself a little bit. So yeah, that's my latest venture that I'm working on slowly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good. Just no bloopers.
Yeah, I know. I'm still learning how to edit movies, which, I just put it on iMovie and hope they do the right thing. So,
Yeah.
but it's not easy.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So,
Can I do it?
yeah.
All right, cool. All right, so if you found any value in this episode, again, Jeff, thank you for being here. Or if you have any questions for Jeff, please make sure that you put it and actually ask in the actual comments section, and we'll be sure to reach out to you as far as that's concerned. If you found any value in this actual episode or this show, please make sure to actually like the episode, share the show, so that way other people can actually get the value that we're actually trying to put out there. Again, our primary focus is to help and inspire business owners or people thinking about becoming entrepreneurs in that actual business space. So if we provided any value to you, please share, like, or even talk about the show. We definitely appreciate that.
Yeah, and what's great, Gavin, is for those who can't afford a $50,000 or $100,000 investment into a business or a $10,000 coaching session with Tony Robbins or Gary Vaynerchuk.
Is that all it is?
Actually subscribe to our podcast in the link in the description of the video for 99 cents a month.
And that's one McDouble, or
It's a minimum of 99 cents a month.
Yes.
So if you want 2 McDoubles, then you can do $1.98, but dealer's
Sweet.
choice.
3 packs of top ramen.
Yeah.
That's what we're right?
Absolutely. So the point of the story is tell your friends. So we're going to move into the after brews. If you are new to the show, you haven't been keeping up, or maybe you haven't seen the episode with Jeff from before when he talked about his blog, then you're definitely going to want to tune in on Wednesday at 11 a.m. for the video version. The audio version of the podcast of the After Brews actually goes up at 7 a.m. on Wednesday. And so, here it's formal. We go through the questions and whatnot. But the After Brews, we take the gloves off. So we're talking about, the book he's reading, the .com secrets, what he's working on with his funnel. We're talking about, the Flat Earth podcast I brought up, just whatever we want to talk about, that's what we do on the After Brews. So I appreciate everyone who's watching live. Thanks so much for the support thus far, but definitely make sure to check back, because that's where the really interesting stuff happens, is in the After
The
Brews.
nitty gritty, if you will.
Gritty.
Yeah, definitely.
Ryan even drops a button on the shirt.
Yeah.
Ah.
Yeah, button is one button.
Still can't see it with the beard.
Yeah. I had to make sure when you said that I still had one that I could unbutton. But, I do. So we're
That's
good.
right.
So, hey, once again, Jeff, I appreciate you being here. I
Yeah.
appreciate you
Love.
coming on the show again.
Yeah.
I
Thank you
enjoy
for the
this.
support. We appreciate it.
If you ever have an empty space, I'd be more than happy to come in and
Yeah.
talk about something besides dentistry.
Well, I appreciate that, man. I appreciate Nick and Scott for letting us use their super high tech
TREK CBD Studios.
Yeah.
Jinx. And happy anniversary again, man. Thank you.
Yeah, that's awesome, you guys.
Yeah.
1 year.
1 year,
man.
of doing business and brews.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
We
awesome.
started out with a cell phone and a couple of beers.
That's right.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And plastic bags. I
Yeah,
like it, man.
and here we are. So if you guys haven't already, head over to trekcbd.com, check them out. And now I think we're gonna say thank you once again to
Thank
everyone
you.
watching,
Sweet.
and we will see you on the next episode.
Yeah.
Starts twitching.
Oh, man.
What was I gonna say?
I'm curious about your Russell Brunson adventure.
No. We're not going to speed past this flat earth thing.
Okay, so